everybody. Russell B. Hill, co-founder and managing partner of FixedOPS Marketing, as well as host of WTF, and that is What the FixedOPS to all of you. And a new one you've probably heard a little bit about, but now you're going to hear a little bit more about. It's called FOI, and it's FixedOPS Institute. It's a forum for higher learning. And we have a very special guest today, but I'm going to let somebody else introduce them, and that would be...
I'm Charity Dunning. I am the co-host here at What the FixedOPS. And before we get started with our guest today, I need to shout out our sponsor, WYNN'S. People who love cars love WYNN'S. Check them out. There is a link in the description below. Now, I'm really excited to introduce our guest today. His name is Jim Bernasek. He is the CEO and co-founder of Chameleon Limited. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Very honored to be on with you guys.
We're happy you're here. Tell us a little bit about who you are. What is Chameleon Limited? What is it that you do?
Okay. So you guys already introduced me. My name is Jim Bernasek. I am the CEO and co-founder of Chameleon Limited, as you said. My background comes as a fixed operations expert, so to speak. I have been in fixed operations my entire life, running stores, multi-group stores, and so on. I had my own consulting firm as well. So I had set out to create a system that not only displays numbers for fixed operations, but really helps the stores from the general manager, executive level, all the way down to the employee level, understand our business, right? Anybody can display numbers, as I always say, but it's can they interpret those numbers so that way employees are a lot more educated on the business that they're actually in.
Absolutely. And we're going to explore some of this stuff, but I want to get started with what I think, other than your introduction and the fact that Charity and I are honored to have you. So the really important stuff is, I'd like to know if you're married and you have children, and tell us a little bit about your family and maybe shout out to them.
Absolutely. I have 3 beautiful kids and a beautiful wife. I have 2 older boys that I had from a previous marriage. I started young, that a lot of people know that went through on the LinkedIn side of it. But my oldest son is 28, and he is in the Coast Guard in Hawaii, married to a beautiful young lady, high school sweetheart. And then I have my 24-year-old that is a computer, let's call him computer kid as well. He's a little bit different. I tried to get him to work with us, but his mentality is a little bit different than ours. So, which my wife blames me for, right? Because she says that I baby him a lot because he was my baby for a long time until I had the I call it the light of my life, which is my daughter. Yeah. And she is 8 years old, and wow. She's fantastic.
And what are their names?
So my daughter is Tinley Jameson. I call her TJ, so I'm the only one that calls her TJ. And then I have Derek, who is my oldest, and Braden is my middle son. So I'm still not used to calling him my youngest, because that's what I usually used to call him, right?
Sure. Oh, I think we're all familiar with those types of things too, or most of us are anyway. Mm-hmm. And your wife, what's her name, and how long have you been married?
So my wife and I are actually going to be celebrating our 12th anniversary tomorrow, on August 5th. So yeah, so tomorrow will be 12 years. And, it has been a fantastic ride for me. I'm sure she's saying that it's been a real ride for her, I'm sure. So,
okay. Well, listen, that's really important. My wife and I are going to be celebrating ours as well. As a matter of fact, we, during Digital Dealer in October in Vegas. So we got married during Digital Dealer.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah. And we celebrate there. She was in the business, just retired a couple of years ago after 32 years in the car business. So, but I'll tell you what, she is my rock. And I'm sure your wife is too. Charity, all of our spouses behind the scenes, that they love and support us for what we're doing. And and the way we provide support for a family. So that's awesome. And
Absolutely,
thank you so much
and
for-
she's and to go to expand on that, Rock. She's actually a partner in our company,
Oh.
but she also owns her own business. Has owned her business for a long time now, and we reside in Omaha. We came from Chicago. That's where we moved here about 9 years ago. But she owns her own tax business incorporation, company, and she has an office in Omaha and Chicago. So, I mean, she has a pretty decent business going for that too, as well.
Good. Man, both of you are number crunchers. So
We are.
I haven't ever officially met you in person, but I feel like I know you because we know so many of the same people.
Absolutely.
And we're in different Zoom rooms together, sometimes on a weekly basis, sometimes not, time permitting and stuff like that. But what I have heard about you was from the MFTT, and I won't say it out loud, but that would be the Tennessee Titan, Mr. Michael Barrett. But that.
But Russell, what's the F stand for?
Yeah, we won't say that on air, right?
Well, it can always be edited out.
Just use your imagination.
Yeah, use your imagination, everybody. But I've listened to you comment and talk about things, and then also got a chance to sit down with you and see your product as well. And there's not very many people that do actually what you do. As a matter of fact, there's nobody that I know of that actually does really what you do to the level that you do it. How easy it is to interpret and understand and pivot, and how it could be, save the dealerships a lot. So I certainly want to talk about that. But I think I always like talking about the family if I possibly can.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the wealth of information that you have in the business and running multiple stores and fixed operations, et cetera. How did you get your start in automotive, Jim?
So I had started. I had dropped out of school, and because I had I dropped.
Oh
out of high
no,
school.
you did?
And because I had my son, and I figured, hey, at this point, I gotta grow up, right? And I gotta do something. So I had gone to a small Wilray Incorporated, which was a small independent kind of Goodyear tire shop deal, and started, doing tires, started doing stuff there. And the owner of that facility, he kind of took to me and said, look, you really have a future in this business, but I don't think I can give you as far as what you need to have. And he had connected me to the Toyota store that I had went to, and he knew the service director that was there. So I had gone there, and I was a let's call it loop tech, entry level technician that was in there. And this is the reason why I have so much passion for the technician world, is because I could not do that. Right. I tried to do it. I ended up, getting my GED. Then I went to a community college for mechanical stuff. So did all that. And as I was about 6 months in, and the service director comes up to me and says, hey, Jimmy, I want you to throw this tie on tomorrow, and I want you to come tomorrow. I want you to come and I want you to write service with Rob. And I'm like, write service? I'm not writing service. I'm like, I'm a mechanic. I'm a technician. I just bought this $1,200 Snap-on box that was probably 6 months worth of my salary, right? At that time. Oh, yeah. And, so I get it. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. And he goes, I'm just telling you, you need to do this. And I'm like, I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be a mechanic. And he goes, I'm just telling you, trust me, listen to me. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
Damn, you're hard-headed.
Yep. And he's like, okay, I'm 18 years old. You know what I mean? At this point, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Well, finally he, back then you could smoke in the shop. You did everything, these guys, they did all that. So he comes out and he says, Jimmy, come for a walk with me real quick. And we went down the side. I remember this day at the Toyota store. We went down the side of the Toyota store. We're walking, and he puts his arm around me and he says, Jimmy, I got to tell you something that's probably going to hurt. He goes, but you suck as a technician. And I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? And he goes, look, let me just tell you something. He goes, you you're too slow. You're never going to make any money because of the fact that you triple check yourself, which is great, but you're never going to make any money because it's going to take you way too long. He goes, you always wash your hands after everything that happens. You get dirt on them, you do this, you wash your hands, you're doing stuff. I've even seen you change your uniforms, because of the fact that you got a little bit of grease on it and stuff. So he says you can't do it. He goes, but what I did learn, what I have seen from you though, is every single advisor brings the customer back there to talk to you to explain what needs to be done on the car. And you do it in a great way, and it always helps them. He goes, so you need to come up and be a service advisor, because I guarantee you will make a lot more money and you have a better future for that. So I kind of owe it to him, because he kind of put me in that spot and got there. And that was my first store that I actually got as a service manager. And I think I was 23 years old when I got the service manager spot, for that. And then just grew from there.
That was a big learning curve. Are you still in touch with him today? It sounds like he was a wonderful mentor at the time.
No, I'm not. Unfortunately, he passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. He passed away. So yeah, but he was a big mentor in my career. So yep. I've been fortunate enough to have at least 3 really, really strong mentors, growing up in my life, to help me, guide me in the business side of it, which has been fantastic.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Well, let me circle back around to what you alluded to in your introduction about data and numbers. And I poked through your LinkedIn profile a little bit just to learn a little bit more about you.
Well, trust me, it's more than a little bit, Jim. He's good at what she does, let me tell you.
Yeah, I was getting all these life alerts, you know what I mean? Saying something about this.
I know, it always rats on me. No. Well, in regards to your business, you say your data has the answers. So I wanted to ask you what you mean by that.
So what I mean by that is the data always has the answers, right? And you always hear, well, the data lies, all this. No, data doesn't lie. People lie, right? And it's all about what the inputting in of that data is, right? So the things with us is we live our lives, my whole company, we live our life on basically 3 things for our system, and that's detect, predict, and act. Okay, those 3 words are very important to us, right? Because in this business, one of the reasons why I started this business is because the people in our business they don't understand what to even detect in our business that's causing irregularities or negative impacts or even positive impacts on that side, right? They don't know what to detect. And then even if they did, they don't know how to detect it sometimes, right? And I would say a lot of times on that side. So, and then the predict comes in, because it's what we want to do is we want to make that data be able to help them learn, first and foremost, detect what any issues are that are happening. Okay. Then they can start to understand how to detect that on their own. Then the system comes into play where it has the prediction part, where we predict things that are going to happen based on the patterns that are in their data, in their store, and the irregularities. But the problem is can we take that detection and now bring it into the prediction side of it? Because it's very important, where people always want, and Russell, you've been in this business a long time, people always want that prediction first, right? Okay, that's great. You can have that prediction first, but if you don't know how to detect it yourself and what to detect, prediction doesn't matter, because it can predict something for you, but what happened? Why did it happen?
True,
right?
True that.
And then the act is the last part, because now we have to be able to learn how to act on that, right? Who's responsible for the detection and what we detected, what specifically is causing this issue to happen, and how do we fix it now? But then how do we also fix it for the future? So those are the 3 things that we go by.
So are you still running stores, or is your company full speed ahead? When did you?
We are full speed.
Yeah. When did you leave?
So we left just over a year ago. I left and I was with the company I ran over 20 stores for just about 9 years, somewhere in that range, and left on great terms. And they're actually clients of ours too, as well. So yeah, we launched just about a little over a year ago.
Okay. I want to hone in on that moment, if I may, just for a moment.
Absolutely.
I remember after 16 years being in stores, working my way up, et cetera. And when I decided to, I know a lot of people, you do too, who left automotive for another venture outside of automotive in some capacity and failed miserably and or whatever
come
reason.
right back.
And come right back. Yeah. And so those could be really defining moments. And the companies that I've been a part of, the companies that I owned, it's almost like you were very comfortable. 9 years. I mean, you were like a machine in there, and obviously left on good terms. So that says a lot about the leadership that you had there, and the leaders that you probably were to be there for 9 years to grow that thing the way you did, and for somebody to let you go and encourage you to chase this thing. But that's what you're doing. You had an idea, you had a dream, you had something that you wanted to chase. This was it. And you had some infrastructure set up, and like, now is the time. What was that moment like for you?
That moment is after we started building out the system, and we had years of development, right? Years of my partners and I, developing this. But it got to that point to where, as I always told, and I had actually resigned a year prior to when I left, because I wanted to devote my attention and time, and they had, talked to me, and we agreed that I would stay on, still be able to work on and develop as we go further. But with the understanding that I would make sure that I let them know when it got to the point that we were about to launch and we had some significant interest in what we were doing, then I would level out and basically, go on full time on that side.
Sure, yeah.
And that's what happened. So once we finally launched, we had our beta tester, then we had our pilot test. And then, just from word of mouth, we haven't even advertised. And if you see on LinkedIn and stuff, we do some posts, we do all that, but we have grown tremendously with zero advertising because it's all word of mouth, right? And just from that pilot stage, when we were in there and had, 7 stores in the beta, the pilot, between them, all of a sudden we started getting calls. We started getting this like, hey, I was just at a meeting and I saw this, they were using this system, and can you tell me what it is? Can you explain it to me? Because it looked pretty good. And they were able to pull their numbers up right there and be able to tell us what was going on. So that's when I decided to leave, because we started getting those phone calls, right? And I didn't feel that it was right to take those phone calls while I was still working for a large group, right? Because that's the one thing with me, my work ethic, I'll tell you, I'm never going to deviate from that, because work ethic is everything in our life.
That's you're certainly, leaving something like that and venturing off into this, it was obviously really helpful to get those kind of phone calls and level of support. And the way you've grown organically through word of mouth is phenomenal. And I think you're doing a little bit more. You'll probably be doing much more, but still making that transition. I say this often because I'm really emotional guy, but I get goosebumps, because I remember those several times in my life where I was going to venture off into something new, and I thought the infrastructure was set up and ready to go. And you don't know what you don't know until you get started. You just go down the road, and then you start encountering this, and that. But man, it's exciting, isn't it?
Oh, it was really exciting. And I had I'm fortunate to go back to the family situation, right? My entire family, from my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, everybody in our family was like, hey, it doesn't matter, man. And we never used the word fail, because at the end of the day, we're not going to let it fail, right? So, but even if that did, I had that comfort that, hey, everybody's behind me, right? And they are all 100% on this. And hey, if we got to live in a 1-bedroom, shack for a little while to do it, my wife's like, hey, then we got to do it. Let's do it, right? Because this is what you wanted to do, and your passion is about the people. Because my passion has always been about the people. Forget the data, forget anything about that. It's all about the people. And that is exactly why I started it. As Russell, I think you and I talked about this before. There's one number in this industry that caused that really pushed me to do this, and it's that turnover rate. Right? Because the turnover rate, think about that for the service advisor, service manager part, the turnover rate is so high in our business. but it's all because of the lack of education and training that we give them, right? Training doesn't have to be me standing there right with you, showing you this, right? It's also something showing you that, hey, this is what needs to be done, right? Because the good people, go back to the business when you talked about in the car business, how they come back to the business, right?
Yes.
Well, what's the reason for that? Because we accept anybody because it's all based on performance, right? You're either going to leave on your own or we're going to force you out because you're not doing a good job, right? That's exactly what happens in this business. And people can make a lot of money without an education. I'm proof of that, right?
Me too.
Because as long as you devote your attention to it and you become a student of what you do, you're gonna thrive.
Well, you mentioned, okay, I understand what you just said, and a product of that turnover, et cetera, is poor leadership. Okay,
Absolutely.
not people. A person don't really care about their people; they're just a number. You've never struck me as that. I think I've known you about a year and a half, 2 years now. You know, we've had different encounters, but and obviously, listen, what you just described with your family and that level of support. That's not very common with people that are stretching and going to get way outside of their comfort zone. Usually the family's the first one said, "Oh, you can't do that. I tried that. That won't work." But man, they all rallied behind you, man. And
all of them.
Kudos to your family.
Yep. All of them. Even my oldest son was like, "Hey, you're moving to Hawaii with us because that way you don't have a mortgage. You don't have any of that." And I'm like, my wife's like, "Hey, yeah." My daughter's like, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm kind of heavy. I'm a heavy guy. I'm going to sweat a lot. That's why I like to live in a 4-season, kind of climate area, right?
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to take a moment to say a few words about our new sponsor, WYNN'S. People who love cars love WYNN'S. With over 80 years of experience in innovation, WYNN'S leads the industry with product and system innovations that drive vehicle performance and longevity. WYNN'S leads through our innovation, our technology, and the products we create. We bring a legacy of superior performance that professional service providers trust through our heritage of innovative formulas and unparalleled service. It starts with fuel and oil, and it ends with excellence. Our dedication to research and development has led to more than 18,000 granted and pending patents across our company. And that drive continues today at WYNN'S. New vehicle technology like EV requires leading-edge service and products. WYNN'S ensures our products meet EV requirements and still provide the same high level of protection that we've always offered. We meet tomorrow's needs by using our knowledge and technology today. WYNN'S brings innovative, technically advanced, professional-grade solutions to the world. Our legacy of innovation and performance is always copied, but never outrun. So thank you, WYNN'S, for sponsoring the What the FixedOPS podcast.
Oh, I love it.
Well, Russell is doing a presentation on AI in October at Digital Dealer. Yeah, which is kind of cool. We've been going through, the reactive, proactive, predictive sort of data that you work with when you're looking at artificial intelligence. How did you get into AI? Because it's a fairly new trending topic right now. It's not. I mean, that seems like a big leap.
It is. I love that question because I always answer it this way. AI, you use the word artificial intelligence, right?
2 words.
There's nothing artificial in our system because it's true data, right? So we call it automated intelligence. So we automate all of your stuff. So we are AI, but we're automated intelligence for the dealer because there's nothing that is artificial about your numbers in our system. So that is basically what we use. But how we got into it was my partner. So I have 3 partners. My wife, we had already spoke about, right? She's the CFO of the company because she's more of a numbers person than I am from a financial standpoint. And she's the one that keeps me in line. Everybody will tell you that, my other partners. But I had met Zach is a very, very important person. And both of my partners are, but Zach is the co-founder of the company. And Zach is when I say AI architect, he's an automated architect, right? So he's all about automation. His background, everything. I mean, from the point, if you've looked at his bio, which really struck out to me when I met him, and I met him through a friend. I mean, it was just coincidence that we had met, and then we had gone to lunch, and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about doing something like this. What do you think? Well, we sat down at the table. I had all my stuff together. Here's what it is. Here's what I want to do. Here's why I want to do it because of all this, right? Kind of a pitch deck in a sense, right? And he's like, let me look at this. This is interesting. So I didn't hear back from him for like 2 weeks, and I'm like, I guess he didn't like what I had to say. You know what I mean?
The hell, man?
Yeah, I'm like, I guess taking my spreadsheets in my brain, he didn't want any part of because he figured out it was pretty rough. You know what I mean? But about 2 weeks after then, he had called me and said, hey, you want to go to lunch? And I'm like, sure, let's go to lunch. And he's like, hey, I did a lot of research because what Zach does is he is a research freak. And he's like, I researched the industry, I researched the DMSs, I researched, and I can tell you right now, this is needed. And if we do it right, then it is going to help. Now, the key word is what I loved about Zach was he didn't say that this is going to explode, right? Meaning big. He used exactly what I said in that first meeting is this is going to help a lot of people. And that's when I was like, I have the right partner.
Right, because the big fear right now is, it's AI is going to take over our jobs, right? And so how many jobs have you taken over?
None. Actually, we actually help heighten that job status because what's happening is you're elevating people from lower roles into higher roles now because they're much more educated on the business and how to deal with things. And then people then get to come in at the entry level side. So we're actually creating more jobs because as they expand their business and grow, you need more people, right? So that's the thing. AI can only do so much, right? Unless they're going to get robots and do all that stuff. And I'm all about some of that stuff, kiosks, right? But if you really think about it, I think the study when they went out and said that like 78% of the people, wherever these kiosks are at, don't like them. They'd rather deal with an actual person, right? Because when I'm bringing my car in, I don't want to just type it into a kiosk. I want to tell somebody what the problem is.
Yeah, I got something to say. Yeah,
they want to understand it, right? Now, I'm not discounting the kiosks. I think that there's a time and a place for a lot of that stuff too, right? For speedy, more efficiency and stuff like that. But it'll never overtake our business on that side. I don't believe, in a sense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
go ahead.
So just help me understand just a little bit. Do you pull your data from the DMS? And what kind of data do you pull? What kind of problems do you solve?
Yes.
So yes. So what we do is we ingest all the data from the dealership's DMS, so their dealer management, system, data management system. So we pull all that, we ingest all of that data down. And then what's different between us then is the data, we take that data in raw form. And then we redo everything and we do all of our calculations are behind the scenes and done. We don't just take the data, which a lot of companies do. They take the data and then they just display it in a nicer format, right? We don't do that. We want accuracy. So we take that data and we know that, okay, if this is happening here, then this is causing an issue here. And our calculations are going through and doing that and making that side on there. So what we solve is we solve the very, very high level, instant negative impacts that are happening for the business, right? And then from their financial statement performance, all of that stuff. So we're not just, we show everything. So we have, our system doesn't just do the repair order performance, the service advisor, technician. I mean, it does financial statement, it does everything. So and it tells you where you're losing money. So like it literally gives you the opportunity to know that a dealer can look at this number, but then that number tells you, here's your lost opportunity. And that's the biggest key factor in our business and in our system is that it tells you what that lost opportunity is. So that drives change, right? That's our slogan, driving change, is because when they see the fact that, hey, I got $30,000 just because of that one thing that I did not do. I got to fix that. I got to go through and do it. So it drives that change and it goes through that on that side.
So it's very all the data's there, but not in the way that you pull it together. Give us an example of a feature, advantage, and benefit of what you most commonly, which is one of the biggest opportunities. Surely you have a couple of those that you may focus on real quick, or is it really different store by store? I'm just curious.
A lot of it's different store by store. It really is, because it depends on how they're performing already in certain areas on that side. But I would say the biggest impact is from the employee standpoint, right? Because what it does is it shows on the employee. So we're, as I told you before, we're not just the executive level. An advisor, a technician, they have their own dashboards, right? And they can see their own stuff. So it creates awareness, because those advisors, if they're discounting things that shouldn't be discounted, they can see it right on their dashboard. It instantly pops up. They know exactly what they've done. Well, they also know that if they can see it, who else can see it? Dealer principal, right? And everybody else can see that, and they can see all that. But what we show is we predict things like, I'll use our voided repair order side of it, right? So voided repair orders are typically something that is not looked at in our business because, the customer didn't come in. But what happens if that voided repair order had money on it? Meaning, Russell, you came into the store and I did a oil change for my friend and a brake job for my friend, but then I removed everything off of it and just voided the ticket. Well, now it looks like there's nothing on that ticket, right?
Oh,
and now you have no idea. So there's no idea that ever happened. Well, the only time you're ever going to find out if there's an issue, you don't know exactly what the issue is when your parts is off, because of the fact that now you have it showing that you have, 20 in stock, but yet you only have 19 on the shelf, right? But you don't know exactly where that happened. Our system actually captures everything that's ever been on that ticket from the repair order and shows you that this was voided, but at some point it had $400 on it. So what happened? And that is probably the biggest impact for general managers, because they're always like, well, we don't void tickets. Nobody voids tickets. And then they get our system. The first day they see that in the last 6 months, they had 50 of them voided. And
wow, man, what a wake up call.
And yep. And unfortunately, I mean, not that I want my system to ever terminate people, but here's the thing. We don't want bad people in our business.
No,
I don't want bad people in my life, period. Right. So at that point, we've had, and this is a true use case, we had a dealer, a group that's actually with us, that had called me and talked about this and said, hey, there's an issue here because these are showing that it has money on it. And I said, yeah, absolutely. At some point they did. Well, what they found was this group does a $50 oil change for their customers, right? That are loyal to, they buy 2 cars from them, then they get a $50 oil change, taxes, everything included. Well, they have a huge express department. Well, what was happening was, customer come in and they'd pay $50 cash. Well, what would happen? The advisor put it in their pocket, void the ticket out, be gone. They found 2 advisors that did it, and they actually called the customers, and they were doing it for a long time. So how much money are you losing?
That's amazing, because that's why I said, like, wow, because if they do it one time, they keep doing it, becomes, and next thing you know, somebody else sees it or they're talking and they end up doing it. But you know what? It all comes out in the wash, doesn't it?
Correct.
At some point in time.
At some point.
It's a shame. So that's one of the, I remember when I got a presentation from you, I think you were sharing that particular thing about voided ROs.
Yep.
And that's substantial.
And it's because, and our system is, there's obviously so much data in that system, right? But as you saw it, Russ, what I told my partners when we did this is, look, we all have ADHD in this car business, whether we want to admit it or not, right? We all have it. And if I cannot see.
Hold on, Jim. Charity's laughing at something. What the hell are you laughing at, Charity?
I think she texted me right before this and said, hey, by the way, Russ has massive ADHD, so just stay with him here, right? So, but the biggest thing is we have that rule of 3, right? If I cannot see from the high level down to the repair order view within 3 clicks, it's worthless to me, because you're going to lose somebody, because if they have to go through all this different things.
I love that 3-click. That's an ADHD thing, baby.
It is. And that's why I said, I'm like, it's not happening. I tell my partners, because you see all these other systems where, they're great. And I'm never going to knock them because, hey, they're doing something that needs to be done too, right? We just do it in a different way, in a much friendlier, faster, more efficient way to be able to predict and detect things that are actually happening for the dealers.
Wow, so you take information, you take data, and you just make it more accessible, more visible, so people can actually work with the numbers. Something that it would take a human, who knows how long.
Mm-hmm. So I could tell you, I had a meeting yesterday with a 4-store group that's been on, right? And the COO, he's general manager of all 4 stores. The COO of the store, we were talking about this, and we were going over something, and he said, our gross is off in this area. And he said, is there a way that you could, help me kind of dissect this and look at it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Let's jump on. So we jumped on a quick Zoom and went through it. And we were literally, I'm not kidding you, it was 3 minutes. We might have been in there 3 minutes. And I said, well, I can tell you right now, it's because the advisors are changing all of these op codes. They're changing the dollar amounts on all these op codes. And he's like, well, no, I talked to the service director. He said that doesn't happen. And I'm like, Mike, I said, let me show you something real quick. Ooh. So pulled it up, and our system instantly told him that in the last 2 months, so we pulled 60 months, just within, and literally this is all within 30 seconds to a minute. Like, it's not a long period of time. Pulled it up. There have been over 40 op codes that were changed over 5,000 times in the last 2 months in 4 stores.
What would prompt that? Just out of curiosity, was it malicious or not?
So it goes back to what we had talked about before with the education and the training of the people. If we don't have our own house in order, you give the staff the ability to make their own determinations and their own stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want that. I want that to be as easy as possible for them. So take that op code, for example, that the pricing is not right in that op code, right? And these are just some little things. The pricing's not right. Well, the manager's never gone in and changed it and made sure that the pricing's updated. It's exact for the customer. So now the advisor has to go in and update that, on the ticket to make sure that they're reflecting that correct price. Well, the problem is, do you trust the advisors to do that every time? No. So you're losing all that money because they're not going in and changing all that because we didn't do what we were supposed to do as leaders and get our house in order. I always call it, get our house in order, and then give them the playbook. If you get your house in order, give them the playbook, you're gonna thrive.
I don't want to ADHD.
And that's what our system is a playbook for everybody, and it tells them exactly what they need to do.
Is that common?
Yes.
Op codes are changed like that?
100%.
And they don't even know. So you not only can pull that up in like very, very fast, but you can also predict and see trends and predictions of things that are happening or have happened as a result of this, right?
Correct. Yep. Tells them all their lost opportunity, and then they could tell that going forward, if they don't fix it, here's the lost opportunity based on the pattern that's been happening. Here's what you're going to continue to lose if you do not fix this.
Wow.
So it adds it up. So every time an advisor pockets $50 over the next week and over the next month, over the next year, mm-hmm. That's incredible.
That is incredible.
This is a perfect company for numbers people.
Yeah, but I would actually argue the opposite. It's actually a perfect company for people that are not very number driven because of the fact that now it will tell them for them, and they can actually deal with the actual people, right? Numbers people are going to have their own spreadsheets. They're going to like the way that they do it because that's how they do it, right? But the people that are not numbers driven are actually the ones that benefit the most because it's eye-opening to them.
Right.
It's really, really eye-opening to them.
But you encounter both.
Absolutely. Yep.
And of course, change is not easy for somebody. And I know some people like that. They think they got it. So do you have a different approach when you're talking to somebody? You quickly identify who you're talking to and maybe a way to approach them so they see it, they understand it. Even those people that have the spreadsheets and spend all that time, which is, I'm sure, an enormous amount of time, they can't see what you see.
Correct. So what I end up doing is whenever I talk to a GM, because I start with the GM or even service director, fixed op director that we end up talking to. First thing I always ask them before we get in, I say, hey, appreciate you taking the time because,
Sure.
and they always say, well, I have a system that I pull all this, I do all this stuff, and I get there. And I said, absolutely. So I appreciate you looking at this. And I start off by, what do you like to look at? Okay, what do you like to look at in your day-to-day operations that tell you that, hey, we're doing a good job or we're doing a bad job? And I get what they like to see and what they like to go in. And then I tell them, okay, if I can tell you that, hey, here is exactly how long does it take you to pull that report and do this? Well, it takes me, I get there about 6 o'clock and by 7:15, I'm pretty much have that report ready to go. So it's there. And I said, well, what if I could tell you that you could see that within 15 seconds? And they're like, no way. And I said, within 15, 30 seconds, you can see not only that, but you can see almost every negative thing about your business on one dashboard.
Wow.
Right there.
It's over, baby. Shut the door.
And then they look at it. But I love the people that always say that, man, I track everything. You've never met a person that tracks as much as I do. And within 5 minutes of looking at the system, all of a sudden they're like, whoa, I don't track anything. And those are always the good things for us. I love getting those, but more importantly, the thing is our support. And I venture to ask you to go out to any of our clients that we have. And I will tell you that the number one thing they will tell you is that our support is second to none. That we treat them like family because, hey, they pick up the phone, they call our support tickets, whatever it is, email, we help them. We do a lot for them to try to, it's not just the system itself, it's also our team of people that help them get to the next level on that side. I mean, we've even gotten people that ask for, things that are outside of it, like, hey, I got to talk to this guy about this. How do I approach this, right? And we help them.
Excellent.
Yeah.
No additional charges either. That's part of what you do in support.
Correct.
When you started out, obviously you had a dream and a vision of where you thought this was going to go. Has it exceeded that to date?
I'm a strong person to say that no, just because I never exceed any of my expectations, because I want to keep going and doing it.
Sure.
What I can say though, that is I am proud of our entire team for what we have accomplished, because if you look at what we've accomplished and how we've accomplished it, not being a conglomerate, not being that, what we've accomplished in 1 year of launching is pretty amazing. Now I keep hearing that from a ton of people. However, to me, I think that we can do even more, right? And I want to continue that.
Well, you're humble, and I certainly appreciate that and recognize that about you. And I wholeheartedly agree. Case in point, you're looking at it right now. And you know the exposure we have on social media, right?
Absolutely.
Dude, yeah. I don't know what the hell I'm doing without her, she just show up. This is what we're going to do now. It's not quite like that, but yeah, it is quite like that a lot of times. Now she's training Patrick to do the same thing that you do. I mean, it's incredible. I feel like an AI robot or something like that.
We are passionate about helping consumers find a great, trusted place to get their car fixed. We have 4 million uniques who come to our website each month for car repair information, and we help them find our REPAIRPAL certified locations. We also have amazing partners like USAA that offer our REPAIRPAL certified network to their customers and members. So how are we going to help dealers? Well, dealers sell 100% of the cars, but over time, after the warranty expires, the repairs go up and the revenue potential goes up, but people keep leaving the dealer over time after the warranty. By years 10 or 12, only about 20% of people are still servicing at the dealer. Why is that? There's one dominant reason, and that is price perception. And being REPAIRPAL certified helps you overcome the primary price perception problem. So come let us show you how REPAIRPAL can help you too.
No, but it's really it's really important. We want to be, big, obviously, but we want to grow into it right. We don't want to, that level of support really important to us in what we do. And I think most of our our clients would attest to that. There's a lot of automation built into ours, and we don't have to pull. Of course, we're fixing to round some corners, but this isn't about fixed ops marketing or WTF. This is about Jim Bernasek. So do you want to, where do you want to go with this, Jim?
Well, we have a ton of things that we have coming up that are really, really going to be beneficial to the business, right? So I'll just give you a little glimpse on one thing that I have been working on for a while, and I can't wait until it's launched, and I don't have a time frame, so I'm not going to say that right now, but it's going to be really exciting. So we have what we call is going to be AI reviews, right? We call it AI reviews, and this is because in our business, if you go back to anybody, they always talk about we do an annual review, right? We do an annual review.
Sure.
Well, here's the problem in our business. That's dumb. We need to be doing a review at least once a month, maybe even more than that, because they are performance-based people, and especially when they are new in our business, they have to have those reviews. So what the system is going to do, based on being already in Time AI, you'll put in all of the stuff that you want. Hey, here's the benchmarks of what I want to see this person get to, how they need to be there and do that. And the system will automatically create these reviews and send them to, or have them on their dashboard, the manager's dashboard, and also the employee's dashboard. So then that way they can instantly go in, because otherwise what happens is the manager doesn't want to do the review, because then they have to go in and pull all this stuff, spend 2 hours pulling everything, then sit down with them and talk to them and go through all this stuff. Well, now everything is going to be right there, and it's going to tell them 2 days prior to that review being needing to be done, hey, you need to sit down with Russell and let's talk about these areas here. And then it shows green, and then it'll tell them, compliment them, make sure they know they're doing a great job. Here, they're struggling a little bit. These are the areas that they need to have some help in. So it's going to automatically do that. So that way managers aren't fearful of actually reviewing an employee and having it there. And then they come up at the end of that review, after they go through, they talk about, here's what our game plan is. Here's where we need to be. We agree we're going to be here in 2 weeks. So they set it up. Then they set the timer for 2 weeks that they're going to meet again in 2 weeks. And every single day, that advisor on that dashboard can see everything that they're doing and how their review is going. So guess what? When they go in for that review in 2 weeks, there's no question that they know what they're doing. They already know whether they made it or not. They already know whether they made it or not, right?
So you've done this organically. And I got to tell you, up until recently, for the first 3 of the 3 years and 7 months that from when we had our first client anyway, Charity actually started at the company before I did. It's my company. I don't know how does that happen. But anyway, she did, because I was phasing out another company. But she's done it all just through, her talent and ideas and stuff like that. And marketing organically, because we didn't have the money to pump into it. All the money we had would turn around and pump into our technology and our people, right? Everything's about people. Yep. And are you going to start doing more of that, or do you have some plans, or are you just going to continue to be organic?
Yeah, no, we do. We have some plans that in the next, I'd say probably in the next 90 days, you're going to start to see some different changes where we're actually going to be kind of a little bit more boisterous out there, getting out there, doing some things, showing some stuff. But I also wanted to wait because the way that I am, I'm a very, and anybody that's ever worked for me, with me, or even above me, they'll tell you that I don't like to do anything unless I'm very confident that everything is there, right? And it's spot on and it's good. I use that term spot on a lot. My partners hate it. But
I say it too.
I wanted to make sure that I was 100% confident that our system was doing the job that it was designed to do before I went out and started blasting that and going through and doing it. And we're there. I mean, it's not even a question. I mean, like I said, I mean, I don't want to put the amount of stores, but I mean, in the amount of stores that we've done in a year to grow like that is crazy.
That's great. I know, Josh,
Josh.
He's an amazing guy, man.
Josh is a great guy. I got to tell you, my wife tells me and him all the time that, you know, he keeps me in line. He's my right hand man. He didn't get hired on to be my right hand man, but he just fell into it because he just does everything. And again, he had no knowledge of our business, right? But the thing he had is people skills. He can talk to people. He understands people, but he also has that compassion for people, right? So he is the perfect person why he heads up our dealer support, right? Because he's so passionate about it. I mean, he is on, somebody has an issue, I'm on it. Let's go, let's get this. And then I'll see it and I'll be like, hey, we get on this. He's like, case already closed, done. I already took care of it. And I'm like, all right.
Gotta
I'm
love
like,
that.
you know, gotta love it. And then he keeps going different avenues.
He's a sponge, man. I mean,
he is.
So it started with me with the mastermind and of course SDL and several other ones. Those are two that come to mind, but I'm a variable guy. And I understand enough about fixed just to be dangerous and understand some of the terminology because I always had somebody like you. Okay. You know, especially at the last couple of years when I was actually running the store, but I made it a point to always go back, get to know the techs, the advisors, and talk to customers. That's just the kind of guy I was. That's what Josh reminds me of, man. He's just a sponge. He wants to learn everything he possibly can.
He does, yeah, and he gets on. I tell him, I'm like, look, you don't need to be on SDL if you don't have to. In the beginning, when we did this, you know, and when he first got on with us, but he's on everyone. He gets on, he does it, and I mean, he's always learning everything. And now he's starting to get a little cocky, and I had to tell him this yesterday.
Take it down a peg or two, Josh. We got your number, Josh.
Because he got me on this call that we were on with this dealer that we had that we were just talking about, and Josh had already kind of fixed some of the things that the guy was talking about. And he goes, Jim, I already handled that. He goes, see, I know how to do your job. I know how to do it. And I'm like, oh, do you? All right.
Pride before the fall, baby. Yeah. No, that's great though. I love conscientious people like that, you know?
Absolutely. So you had brought up, Michael Barrett, talking about me. I hope he said good things.
He did. He did. Right. You guys were highly competitive back in the day, weren't you?
We were highly competitive, and I think him and he'll tell you. You'll have to ask him about the. I took him to a Cubs game one time, and we were.
I'm writing this down. Cubs game. Go ahead.
We're right behind home plate, 2 rows up. Just ask him about that game. We had a lot of fun that game.
I got it.
And it was hard for me to do it because we were such competitors.
Hard for you to do what?
We're gonna
take him.
Right, I will. I will. Let me get him online right now.
I have a question to ask you before we hit our time limit because it goes so fast.
Absolutely.
You went from working in the automotive space to being a vendor in the automotive space. Is there anything that surprised you about being a vendor in the automotive space?
Surprise, I would say, is probably not the word, because I had my own consulting company a while ago too, so I kind of knew that a little bit of getting into that side. I would just say that how hard it is to just connect with somebody, right? To be able to just have them just take 15 minutes to look at it, right? But then I also look back, one of the benefits that I had, and I think Russell being in the store had too, is my people, when I train them, they know the business. They do not, I tell them, hey, from 3 days before month end to 3 days after month end, you do not contact a dealer unless they contact you. Or they ask you to do that, right? Because we know that time frame is a very, very busy time frame for them. So we have that etiquette. So we know the business to that self. And then I also understand that there's a difference between being pushy and persistent. You know what I mean? And you have to you gotta kind of learn that
fine line.
Yep, that fine line on being there, because I mean, as a fixed op director of 20 stores, can imagine the amount of vendors that I had coming and talking to me and doing things.
Get a baseball bat and beat them off.
Exactly. And it's just like, so As far as being surprised, I would say no. I understand what they're going through and how they're doing it, and I guess it's just more of a. I think it's exposure, right? As Russ had said for me, because it's more how do I get them to at least take that call, right? Take that to get there, because once we get that call, I can tell you our closing rate is through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get in
Once
front
we
of
get
the right people and they know you have a solution they just need to understand but you're right. There is a fine line between, and here's another thing I got going for me, and you do too. They know I'm a car person. They know I've been in automotive. They just know it. I hear them all the time in all kinds of clubhouses, different rooms. They know immediately they can peg somebody. It's like, you're going to come in here and tell me something. I mean, it's like, okay, I got a drug and alcohol problem, and I'm going to talk to somebody who's never used drugs or alcohol to help me fix my problem. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
And they think that way, though, right? Yeah. And you're right. The last few days and the first few days, it's etiquette. They respect that. If you're already finishing up with them or something like that, that's one thing. But boy, I'll tell you what, they really don't like it. And they give you a lot of leeway too. If you respect that, that psychological factor where, hey, I got to get back with Jim, or I got to get back with Josh or something like that. Right.
Well, I think if for you probably get more of those if you had Charity go in first, and me if I had Kelsey, my wife, go in first.
That's a good idea.
We'd probably fix what we're just talking about, right?
Oh yeah, you just planted a seed, baby.
It's been a wild ride, but you know what? It's been fun, and I enjoy doing what I do because it's helping people. And to one of the stats that we are super happy about, I should say, is I can tell you every single group that we have started with, if they gave us one store, we have gotten every single store in every group that we've been within, let's call it 60 days. So that just tells you what the product is, right? Because of the fact that, and I'm talking stores that are 1 to 3 stores. Our largest right now is 18, and we've always, and I'm not, there's a lot of vendors that when I was, with, Baxter, sure, when we had that, they'd come in and they'd say, hey, you know what? Here's a deal for everybody. Here's a deal for everybody. I'm the opposite. Hey, let me prove it. Just put us in the one store. We're good. I'll prove it to you. And then you get in, and so I wanted to just basically end that with that and let everybody know that right there is probably the biggest testimonial we have, is because of the fact that if it wasn't what it was supposed to be, the group wouldn't go with it.
You're right.
The rest of them.
You're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. I don't even think we got to a third of the questions.
Well, you answered quite a few of them, just naturally, but it's a fascinating solution that you provide. And, I love that you call it automated intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. And are you going to be at the next NADA 2024?
So we're going to be there, but we're not going to be at a booth yet at this stage right now. But we are going to be there at NADA, but we're not going to have a booth at this point. Now, could change. We've been doing some things, but as of right now, we'll be there, but we will not be having a booth at this point.
I'll tell you what, I hope you, if you're contemplating it, look at the money. Let's tell you what,
yeah.
Well, that's, you remember my wife is the CFO and also an accountant, right? So right. Her deal is weighing out, does it match what's going to happen, right? And do that.
It's a timing thing. I have talked to, and I'm not saying this is absolute, but I've been going to those things for a long time.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
And you talking to some of those vendors out there, and they'll say, "Oh man, we closed 40 deals," and they're lying. Most of them are lying.
Absolutely.
But for exposure, for branding, for awareness, to be there, come by our booth and see us.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. We're going to be doing WTF at the booth. So drop by at some point and hop on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah. I will. I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. My wife will be there and Zach will be there too as well. So yeah, absolutely. We'll all stop by and see you guys in person.
Was Zach is a magician, isn't he?
Zach and Nick. I didn't talk about Nick because Nick is the great Oz behind the scene, and they're actually brother-in-laws, which is crazy. So
See, Nick, we're getting you in here right now, brother. Don't feel slighted.
He is the great Oz behind the scene. He doesn't like the limelight. He's the data guy that says, "Hey, keep everybody away from me. I'm going to make it work." You know what I mean? But keep everybody away from me. So yeah, but they are both magicians, and I'm super proud of what they've done. So yeah.
Do you like the limelight?
I'd probably say no. I'm more of a person. I don't have a problem getting up and speaking in front of people. I'm just not that persistent, getting out there, flamboyant, flashy, type of person, which I probably need to be a little bit more of that. But I like to think that I let my work and my abilities talk, right?
Well, that'll start to change a little bit when you start doing much more marketing.
Yep.
Somebody's going to have to be a front guy, out
Mhm.
front, the face of, and there's nobody better to do that than you, man. I think you're a tremendous personality myself.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Yep.
So we're there. So you have, what do we normally say at the end, Sherry?
Well, you're welcome. You kind of did it already, though.
Yeah, you did, but do it again.
You get a couple minutes to say whatever. Maybe we missed something, or you have something come up you want to say, or you have a few minutes to have the floor.
Yeah,
go for it.
Yeah, how do they get a hold of you and all that stuff?
So if you want to get a hold of me, you can either email me at jim@chameleonlimited.com, or you can go to our website at chameleonlimited.com. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of us. On the website, you can put in a submit a form, or again, I give you my email address, jim@chameleonlimited.com. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, and just help anybody out. I'm here to help everybody. So
thank you so much, everybody. Jim Bernasek, and I got to tell you something, phenomenal guy. And when this comes out, it's going to be everywhere. All of you that follow us know, but maybe we're going to gather some new followers because Jim Bernasek's name is going to be associated with. I get it. We don't have all of you, but maybe we will. But like him, love him, share him, search him out. And if you have, hopefully you have, I'm sure you do. Are you watching? I'm sure you have an idea a little bit more about just what the company does. But you need to reach out and really see it. I got a presentation, and I'm telling you, it will blow you away, and you'll see it'll all come together. Other than that, Jim, we're humbled and honored, Charity and I, to have you on today. We really are. Thank you much. This is another wrap for WTF, and that's What the Fixed Ops. Thank you very much, Jim.
thank you. It's been an honor.